How's it going, everybody? This is BeatTheBush. The question is, now that I sold all of my stocks, I am 100% cash, when am I gonna buy back in? Before I begin, this is your typical disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. Whenever I talk about a stock, it can go up or down. These are my own opinions only. And as always, do your own thinking, do your own research, but whenever I talk about these things, I do put my own money into it. This video is brought to you by Webull. It's a free trading app that I exclusively use to check out aftermarket data. It's free to sign up, and not only this, you can get one free share of stock as soon as you sign up, and if you deposit more than $100, you get another free share of stock. Check out my referral link down in the video description below. As you guys know, I sold most of my stock on Friday, May 8th, and over the weekend I made a video about it saying I sold all my stock. And eventually on Monday, I did make good on what I promised on that video, and I sold the remainder of my stock, 22% or so, on Monday. Somehow it's wonderful when the stock market behaves exactly like I said it would just a few days later. But I have no crystal ball or anything. I cannot see what it's going to do the next few days. It could have just as well gone up. Right now, the S&P 500 is about minus 2.3% from when I sold it. So to me, this is not a really big move at all whatsoever. Even at the peak down of minus 5%, it still wasn't all that big a move to me. So in my view, the stock market did nothing really. It didn't plummet. The initial video was really intended for a much more drastic drop. Something like 20% or more, maybe even 50%. And if it reaches minus 20% when I release that video, I would have called that call a success. So you guys commenting down below saying, oh yeah, congratulations, you are, fortune teller or something, I don't think this is it at all. Further in this video, I'm gonna talk about the exact timing that I think it's gonna go down. Of course, this is just a predictive statement here. I really don't know, but at some point, I want to make a prediction, right? My best guess out of everything that I know, out of all the news stories I read, which I spend hours every day reading, and I'm gonna make a prediction and we can see if it comes true or not. Now, because I'm all out of the stock market, there are a few things that cause me to come out of the stock market, and there's probably a few things that is gonna get me to buy back in, which is the actualization that it actually went down, then I might start to look at it again. But right now, what really scares me, because it hasn't gone down yet, I really am trying to convince you guys, how did I come to this view that there's so much danger on the stock market right now? One of the things that really scares me is the meat processing plants struggling to reopen because their working conditions have so many people in it, so many people packed in. If any one of them gets sick, they get transmitted all over the place, and all of a sudden, a lot of people in a single factory gets infected. They have to shut it down, and all of a sudden, they cannot process all the pork or whatever. Just take a look at this headline. A meat processing factory struggled to reopen. Government documents warn of shortages. Now, if it's just pork, doesn't really matter. I don't even eat that much pork, but this is indicative of what's gonna happen in any industry that has a lot of people working in a single factory, where there is no social distance. They're just standing next to each other, shoulder to shoulder. They're just, doing all the meat stuff. Maybe in chicken plants, they do the same thing. Maybe in cow slaughtering houses, they do the same thing. Any kind of meat places, any kind of factory, there's going to be these issues where there might be an outbreak, and this is what worries me the most. The next thing that caused me to sell is Berkshire Hathaway doing somewhat really strange things, because normally you would see Berkshire Hathaway, they keep on buying stock, and then Warren Buffett always says, he really likes to just buy stock and hold forever, right? And so the fact that he's actually selling stuff, it's like really shocking. You look at the airlines that he sold, right? Over here, American Airlines sold all of the holdings. This is a very rare thing. Delta Airlines, Southwest, United Airlines holding, all of it. He just liquidated completely all of it, owing to the fact of this infection scare. The outlook of the airline industry is really, really bad for the long term. This is why this is one of these black swan events. So then it changes his market perspective on the entire stock market. That's why he sells. That's what he says. So first of all, what he's doing here before, if you've been following Berkshire Hathaway, is he usually tries to sell a little bit of it to try to get under the 10% threshold so that he doesn't have to report right away. And then after he sells a little bit, then he quietly goes in the back and sells almost all of it, or you don't know how much he's gonna sell. But this is what exactly he did for the airlines. He sells a little bit, get under that 10%, and then he sells all of it. So he's doing the same thing for certain stocks. I'm not saying that it's absolute he's gonna liquidate the entire holding of whatever he's just got under 10%, but in Bank of America, he just got under 10%. Maybe he's gonna sell the remainder of Bank of America. Goldman Sachs, he just kind of like lopped off a huge chunk of what his holdings, minus 84% from the last year end holdings. So this is a huge amount that he just sold off. So all this liquidation, what does it point to? It just means he's super duper bearish, like whatever asset price right now, it seems like it's, it came up a little bit. So it's like a really slow warning to people. The red flags are up. People have a huge chance to sell. You have like a week or two of asset prices bouncing back, and it's at a reasonable level. A lot of people is not going to take huge losses if you invested in the S&P because it's only down like 10%. So at this point, it might actually be a good point to sell because you're not losing all that much, and then you're looking to lose a lot going forward if there is a dramatic drop, which this event might just cause. You just look at the unemployment number, 33 million people. By the way, my last video said like 22% unemployment, and then I went on to say 1 out of 2 Americans is not working. This is because not everyone is counted in the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate does not count minors. It does not count babies. It does not count retired people, senior citizens, nor does it count people that haven't looked for a job for a really long time. So you might have a huge swath of the population that wasn't counted in the unemployment numbers. When you go to say 1 out of 2 Americans is not working, you're including the entire population here. The third thing that really worries me, that caused me to sell, of course I didn't know this at the time, right? This just came out the last few days, is that the Fed themselves, the ones that are propping up the market, is warning that there's gonna be a huge drop. There could potentially be a huge drop. See, look at this right here. Fed warns of significant hit to asset prices if crisis grows. If crisis grows here. And every inch of me feels like it will grow based on the reaction of the government policies, based on how people are behaving in the United States. Just read this. Asset prices remain vulnerable to significant price declines should the pandemic take an unexpected course, the economic fallout prove more adverse, or financial system strains re-emerge. I definitely think this is going to be the case. With all this, people called it FUD, right? There are some things that makes me slightly unsure. So that's why I am not shorting the stock market or anything. I always have this small probability in my head. I think I am maybe 60% sure, just a little more sure than parity that the stock market is gonna go down. But here is what's making me slightly unsure, is because when I look at the news, nowadays, more and more different investment groups are saying, oh yeah, there's gonna be impending doom. So there's so many people, so many articles saying, oh, it's coming. So whenever I see too many people say the same thing that I initially said, it kind of makes me worried because too many people think the same thing. So based on this, you can say various things such as, this is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy because so many people think so. It's eventually going to happen. People start taking a defensive stand, and then it's going to self-fulfill itself because people start selling. Asset prices is going to go down, and then more people sell, et cetera, in a big circle. The second thing people like to say, kind of opposite to this, is that if so many people says this thing, usually the market likes to do the opposite, okay? So opposite of what? Is it opposite of saying it will go down, or opposite of that it will go up? Because there are still some people that think that it's going to recover. The third thing that's making me unsure is the timing of consumer and business defaults. We know a lot of people are hurting for money, but the government is, doling out money here. They have forbearance mortgages, which might prop up the mortgage market. They have PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, loans to small businesses. So all of these policies sort of props up the market a little bit and kind of distorts how fast the market would go down. If we don't have any kind of the stimulus check, we don't have any of these, free money all everywhere, right? People and businesses are gonna go bankrupt a lot faster. So because these things are here, the stock market is just kind of chugging along. It's like, oh, nothing is happening. But then if the next policy does not get passed in time, then people can go bankrupt, and this is when things start to fall apart. So it's actually policy that might actually keep it going longer and longer. Now, if you ask me, I feel like the stock market is just a bit delusional right now. It just haven't come to full terms of the reality of this. As before, here's a chart of a stock market bubble graph. I have used this graph before, especially with Bitcoin. Now, this is not to say that the stock market is anything like Bitcoin. Right now, why did it crash initially? It's because of this infection stuff. So when there is a bubble, there needs to be a reason for it to pop. Otherwise, it's just gonna keep on going up until it's like too big and maybe it pops itself. But we have this black swan event that artificially popped the bubble. Here is what the typical stock market bubble looks like. And this seems to repeat itself all the time in Bitcoin, in Tesla. And it might just be that Tesla is at the same spot as the wider stock market right now. Look over here. At first, you are optimistic, and then as the asset prices go up, everyone is a genius investor. Then you become enthusiastic, and then you have irrational exuberance where everyone feels like, oh, you can just make money. Just put it all into FANG stock, put it all into QQQ, S&P 500. You see it all over the place on YouTube. Everyone's going by the 4% rule of stock market gains. They think they can retire just going 100% into the stock market. I never believed that too much. And then right when you're at the top, it's YOLO. You only live once. You're like, yeah, everyone's like, it's just gonna keep on going up. And then the infection happened, drops, and now we are at this bull trap phase, right? It dropped 30% and came back up 15, 20%, and now we are at this confusion state. And I see it all over the place. I see it in the comments down below where it's roughly half-half. Maybe a little bit more negative than positive, but it's not completely one-sided over here. So this is a very confusing time for the stock market because you have opinions on both sides. So right now, it's like at the peak of the bull trap. It's like a state of calm before the next dramatic drop. And when that happens, I actually don't know if it's gonna happen. I just anticipate it. I like to predict the stock market here, and I put my money where my mouth is because I sold all my stock. First, if it drops a little bit, maybe 5-10%, we're gonna get fear. And then if it drops all the way down to where it was before, minus 30%, we're gonna get panic. And then if it drops more than that, 40-50%, we're gonna get what you call capitulation. I don't know how to say that too well. But here it is. Capitulation is surrendering or ceasing to resist an opponent or demand. The market went down, it went down some more, and then it went down so much for so long that you eventually give up. We haven't went through a cycle like this yet, even with all this craziness going on in the stock market. And then finally, it just rests down there at the all hope is lost phase. And then you finally go, okay, maybe I lost a lot of money here. And then you just go, maybe I should sell. It's just in case it just drops anymore. So this is the typical investor thing. People are too bullish, thinking that, oh yeah, this is gonna work out long term until it doesn't. Here's my view on the stock market, and it's worked for me quite repeatedly whenever I try to spot stock market bubbles. Stock market is not efficient. It's very, very not efficient. You just kind of think about it, right? When a piece of news goes out, not everyone gets it. Not everyone is like glued to the screen looking at every single headline there is. I am. When I looked at the headlines coming from China, then I'm like, okay, maybe I was one of the earlier ones to kind of absorb it and then go, oh yeah, something is really bad brewing going on, and it definitely looks like it's gonna spread by the way it looks like over in Wuhan. It takes time for news to percolate throughout. If you are just kind of laying on the beach, right? You think you're retired, you're not looking at the news a lot. Eventually, you might catch a whiff of the news. And finally, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks after the stock market drops, then you start to mull on it and then you go, oh my gosh, my portfolio, it dropped 25%. 30%. Maybe I should sell some of it or something. So not everyone is going to react right when the news hits. And even, let's say everybody gets the same piece of news. Every single morning, everybody reads all the news, okay? Every single headline out in the world, they absorb it all. Not everyone is going to process it the same way. Some people will process it and react to it immediately. They're more like the trigger happy type of person where, you know, some movement going on, they see it, they're going to process it, and then they're going to sell their stock. Some other people might be like, oh, I'm like a long-term holder. If there's like all this market noise, right? That's what they like to call it for a really long-term investor. It's just noise going on. I'm not going to react to that. Then they might not sell right away. But the important thing, I think, for try to time the market, I am frankly trying to time the market here, and not everyone's going to be successful. Sometimes there's fake headlines where they try to make things seem bigger than they are, so you have to read all the news and stuff, process it yourself, think for yourself. And then if you see that there is a impending backdrop, some impending doom, then that is when you should sell. That is when I sold, like a week ago. So here is my market prediction. The stock market went down very, very quickly in a few weeks. It went back up in a few weeks. All of this happened within a 2-month period. And then you look at the stock market bubble timing. Assuming the first part takes 1 month of the initial drop, it takes another month to come back up. It's going to take another month or two for it to really, really drop all the way down to all hope is lost levels. So my timing here, I think it's been 1 week or so. We might need another week or two before it actually starts going down. Of course, if it doesn't go down, then you guys can laugh at me. It's okay. I know full well of making these videos that I could definitely be wrong. This is a predictive statement here. I could very well lose 5% gain, 10% gain at most, I believe. But the downsides are huge, so this is why I sold. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the views I have on this stock market. And as always, don't forget to check out my Webull referral link down in the video description below. Go catch your 2 free shares of stock. Give me a like on this video. Comment down below. Let me know how many weeks you think it'll take before it drops minus 30%, the lowest low of March. And as always, don't forget to push that subscribe button and ring that bell icon. Thanks for watching.